Americans continued their celebrations of the 250th anniversary of the country with the absolutely epic UFC fight on the White House lawn this past weekend, while Hollywood continues to do what Hollywood does in disparaging Americans, while simultaneously promoting the idea that capitalists are inherently evil. And a stunning report was released in the UK this past week highlighting exactly what the left doesn't want you to know about their double standards. My name is Ben Corriveau, and welcome to my show. So this week, obviously, to start off with, we had the White House UFC fight last week. This was a great event. I unfortunately wasn't able to watch it myself. I was hoping to get down there for it, but some planning stuff came up that hopefully I'll be able to show you relatively soon. I decided to cancel this event in favor of some future events, but you'll see those going forward. And so there were a ton of good pictures coming out of this. Obviously, the flyover was absolutely amazing. And we had some people have been putting up pictures of the Washington Monument, which obviously was just renovated this past week. It just looks absolutely beautiful. A great event, patriotic, celebrating America. And leftists just hate it so much. And I've been seeing this in my personal life even because some people that I know who used to be conservative put up stuff about how this was so disrespectful celebrating America on the White House lawn, which is absurd, obviously. They compared this to Zelensky not wearing a suit in the White House and how that was a big scandal. And my only comment to people who are like this individual and claim these things is, well, I would say that celebrating America is incredibly different from begging America to give you money, because that's what Zelensky was doing. I mean, legitimately, he should have worn a suit. I don't know what you want me to say about that outside of that, but if you're actually celebrating America, I don't have a problem with stuff like this. It's not degrading. It's not like what Biden did during his administration, where he had the Pride event where there was a man pretending to be a woman who flashed his breasts, his fake breasts, to the world, and was only removed and prohibited from future events after backlash from the public. So I fail to see how the two are in any way similar whatsoever. But obviously, this was how the left responded to the UFC fight. So there was some counter-programming, and this counter-programming was largely a flop. There wasn't much action there. As far as I've heard, not many people actually tuned into it. More people tuned into the UFC fight. And like I said, this is just all on information that I've heard. I don't have the numbers, so I can't prove it, but that's what I've heard from people. And during this, one individual stood out at this counter protest, which was Robert De Niro, who gave a speech about how he cannot love his country. So I'll play that clip now.
Our country stuck in my throat because our country isn't so lovable right now. I hate to say it, but loving our country is starting to sound like an abused spouse saying they love their abuser. I can't love a country that starts stupid and inhumane wars, killing thousands of innocents and indirectly causing the deaths and suffering of millions more. I can't love a country that takes health care away from millions of people and uses that money to enrich their pals in the Trump Epstein class. I can't love a country that sends out masked militias to shoot citizens in the streets, torture our neighbors, and separate families. I can't love a country that's led by a racist, misogynist, xenophobic tyrant. And let me just say it. I can't love the country that's led by Donald Trump and a sycophant Congress. For most of my life, of course, I did love this country. The United States of America welcomed my immigrant ancestors. It gave me, my family, and my fellow citizens such rich opportunities and extraordinary freedoms. I want to love my country again. I want my country back.
Now, you heard him there, right? I mean, he said that our country isn't so lovable now, and he can't love a country that's led by Donald Trump. Well, I personally find this egregious because, I mean, speaking for most conservatives, I'm not going to say all because I can't say all conservatives agree with me, but most conservatives would say that regardless of who's leading the country, they still love America. It doesn't matter if Biden was president or if Obama was president, we still love America because we stand for the ideals. And even though these people are violating those principles in our opinion, we still care about the country. We aren't going to abandon the country because the other political power is in power. Now, that's not how the left responds. In fact, he even goes on to say, I want to love my country again. I want my country back, implying that the only way that he can love his country is if his political ideology rules over the government and inherently everybody else. Which that's not necessarily how the system was supposed to work. We're supposed to be a democratic republic where there is no tyranny of the majority over the minority. And each state is supposed to be individual and have their own rules and laws, with the federal government merely being a unifier between them and not necessarily restricting the rights or powers of those individual states. But that's not what he wants. He wants total top-down control, but of his political ideology, and wants to force that down on other people. Now, I understand that in any political system, there is some level of this going on, but he is explicitly saying that he cannot love a country that doesn't agree with him. And that's not how politics should work in America. In fact, we actually had some polls showing up that this isn't just him believing this either. So I'll play that clip now. It's from CNN's Harry Enton.
This, to me, is one of the most stunning divides that we have seen. You know, we're talking about polarization in politics. It even comes down to what you believe July 4th actually is. Like, what does July 4th mean to you? Celebrate America, friends and family time. Among Republicans, what do you see? You see the clear majority say it's a time to celebrate America, 65%. Among Democrats, however, the plurality disagree. Look at that. What do you see? Friends and family time at 42% versus just 24% who say that what it means most for them is to celebrate America. So even on the basic question of what July 4th means to you, we have Republicans on one end saying celebrate America, more of them say that, and Democrats on the other end saying that it means more to them to have time with friends and family.
What do they say about the flag?
Yeah, okay, so what do they say about the flag? Even on the basic level of flag, look at this. Look at how we have an increasing polarization on this issue. We'll display the flag on July 4th, the American flag. Back in July of 2001, look at this. You had 68% of Republicans, 65% of Democrats saying that they would, in fact, display the flag on July 4th. You come over to this side of the screen, Republicans basically are where they were 25 years ago, right? 64%. But look at that Democratic percentage, absolutely plummeting. Just 27% of Democrats say they will, in fact, display the flag on July 4th. Democrats and Republicans in different camps, even on the simple question of displaying the flag on July 4th, a polarization, a split that simply put did not exist a generation ago.
What about the sloganeering about proud to be an American?
Okay, what about this idea, are you proud to be an American? Extremely or very proud to be an American? Again, look at this divide, a growing divide on this question. Back in January of 2001, 90% of Republicans, 85% of Democrats. This was after a very contentious 2000 election, keep in mind, right, with George W. Bush coming into the White House. You come over to this side of the screen in 2026, look at this. Again, the Democratic percentage absolutely plummets to just 29% of Democrats say they're extremely or very proud to be an American. That Republican percentage, the exact same, 90 and 90. The Democratic percentage, what is that? That's basically a third of the level that it was just 25 years ago.
Okay, so let's go through these numbers that you just heard. So what does the 4th of July mean to you? In the Republican Party, 65% say that it's to celebrate America because the 4th of July was the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and therefore was when we declared our independence from the British government, and therefore we are celebrating the birthday of the nation. And opposed to that, we have 23% in the Republican Party that say that it means friends and family time. Now, I would say that these 23% aren't exactly wrong, because that's definitely part of it. But the primary purpose of the 4th of July is to celebrate America. Now, compare that to the Democrat Party, which has 24% believe that the purpose is to celebrate America, with only, and 42% saying that it's to spend time with friends and family. It's crazy that celebrating America is now political. But let's get into some of these other numbers. I mean, how many of you will display the American flag on the 4th of July? Now, if you look in 2001, for the Republican Party, this was 68%, and Democrats were 65%. This is within margin of error, so it could realistically be that both parties had about equal levels of willingness to show the American flag on the 4th of July. Compare that to the numbers now, where there are 64% in the GOP say that they're willing to display the American flag, again, within margin of error, and the Democrats, 27%. That's nearly a 30% drop over 25 years. Again, this is absolutely insane that this is happening, and it's only happening on one side of the political aisle. Now, finally, this is in my mind the worst number that we've seen, or the worst part of this poll, which was that how many of you are proud to be American? In 2001, the Republicans, there were about 90% said that they were proud to be American. Compare that to 85% of Democrats. And now, let me just remind you, if you don't remember, 2001 was right after the contentious election between George Bush and Al Gore, and this was before 9/11, so there wasn't any national unity. This was literally right in the aftermath of that contentious election, and both sides still loved America at basically the same levels. Compare that to now, 25 years later, the Republican Party has remained the same in terms of patriotism and how proud you are to be an American. Compare that to Democrats, which are down to 29% say that they're proud to be American. That's a drop of 55% in 25 years. I mean, this is just absolutely insane that people, the political landscape has changed so much that loving America, being proud to be an American, wanting to celebrate the country, are all political. It's just crazy that this has become so political. And it just really goes to show where the actual ideologies are leading towards, where Republicans are the ones who are actually defending the history and tradition of America, whereas Democrats are trying to destroy it and replace it with their liberal orthodoxy that they have been trying to implement across the nation for years now. But let's go even past these numbers, because there's also, obviously last week we talked about the reflecting pool and how they've been trying to belittle what the Trump administration actually did with it. But there have actually been protests in favor of the algae growing in the reflecting pool. I mean, how absolutely insane is that? It's it's a display of beauty in our nation's capital, and we have leftists who are protesting it and wanting the algae to grow more. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's literally, Trump could cure cancer, and these people would find a reason to hate him for it. They would, honestly, if that were to happen, they would probably claim that Trump was the reason why so many pharmaceutical companies lost money. Despite the fact that they always complain about those pharmaceutical companies on a nearly daily basis, they're just anti-Trump. They don't have any actual ideas outside of that. And it's even at the point, so we had these protests, but there was also people who were actually vandalizing the reflecting pool by going in and tearing up the bottom of it. So now we need to have National Guardsmen there, which is crazy. I mean, this is honestly almost third world stuff, that we need to have our National Guards members defending our national monuments because leftists want to destroy it and make it look ugly to spite the president of the United States. I mean, this is like a Mad-Lib, genuinely. Like, you cannot make this stuff up. It's just so absolutely absurd. But this is the reality that we're living in. And as I'm talking, I'm showing you some of these clips that are illustrating exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, it's just crazy. And at the same time, obviously, if you've been following any sort of sports or, I guess, the news, you would know that the World Cup is going on, and that's happening mostly in North America. A lot of it's happening in America. There's a ton of people in Boston right now, right by me, where they're actually running out of beer for all the Scottish over there, it's quite hilarious. But we have all these foreigners coming into our country, mostly Europeans, and they are saying about how amazing America is. And I actually have this pulled up from The Atlantic, where they say that the feel-good story of the World Cup is too good to be true. And their whole premise is to discredit all these people claiming that America is great. And if you actually read the article, they say that, yes, there are some people who are fake, like AI bots or people just farming for clicks, but there are genuinely people who are in the country talking about it, and they are actually like loving it and spreading the word that America is actually not the way that everybody else in the rest of the world claims it to be. Right here from this excerpt, there's this guy, Freddie. He's from Germany. He's a standard bearer of the emergent social media genre. A World Cup visitor from overseas encounters American culture and excess and loves it. So there's just a ton of these posts going around. They're going viral for literally, I would say no reason, but it's just interesting to see this because they have to discredit it. But they actually love America, and they're talking about how much America is better than the countries that they're coming from and how they need to actually take some of that culture back to their countries, which I personally don't think that they should take American culture and bring it back to their countries. It may improve the quality of life for them in certain aspects, but the best part about the world being the world is that it's so diverse, and each country has its own unique culture. And this is one of the reasons why I'm against mass migration, because if you take in a bunch of people and they don't assimilate to your culture is going to become their culture. And that's not necessarily what we want. We want to maintain our uniqueness and our diversity without actually going into and becoming another nation, because that's what ultimately happens with mass migration. So it's just funny seeing this, that foreigners love America more than leftists right now. And perhaps that should tell you something about who you should consider voting for in the midterm elections. But getting past that, going back to the UFC fight that happened this past weekend, there was a domestic terrorist attack that was planned to occur at this UFC fight. I have this up from ABC News, and this plot consisted of a plan to use explosive drones to obviously swarm the event, blow up and kill people, and then this would herd the people towards a location where they had snipers set up where they were going to pick off people. And there's some debate over what the motive was, but the general consensus is that this was an anti-government group that was targeting capitalist elites and billionaires. They were also targeting people who were funded by AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. They wanted some. They said that they were worried about the Epstein class. So all this culminates, and while most of this could reasonably be considered to be either left or right, when you come to the fact of the capitalist and billionaire class that they were targeting, it's pretty clear this is left-wing terrorism. I mean, that's the reality of this. You can't really spin it any other way. So this is obviously horrific. Yet another instance of left-wing political violence that nobody's going to condemn. I actually had somebody reach out to me telling me that I'm being divisive for saying that the left is openly calling for civil war, which these people said that they wanted to ignite a civil war. I mean, it's crazy that somehow I'm divisive for saying the truth about what happened, and the people who are actually attempting to commit this political violence aren't the divisive ones. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. You need to be a certain level of deluded or ignorant of reality to actually believe that that's the case. But that's what the modern left is nowadays. And on top of that, I do want to specify this just so people don't say I didn't report on it. It seems that the person who actually masterminded this attack may have been an illegal alien in the country. From some of the reports I've seen, he was in the country on a visa, overstayed it. Now, I've seen mixed reporting on this, so don't take that as like 100% true. Do your own research, but from what I've seen, that seems to be the case. Obviously, this will all be proven in court if it is true, but we'll see as the trial goes on. Now, time for another just absolutely insane story. Obviously, I've been reporting on the SPLC saga and all the scandals that they've been going through. And this week, it was revealed that apparently there was a high-ranking SPLC employee who paid somebody who was they were in a relationship with this individual, and this individual happened to be a member of a neo-Nazi group. He infiltrated the neo-Nazi organization National Alliance, and they ended up funneling approximately $140,000 in donors' money from the SPLC operating account into a joint account between the two of them. And apparently this goes up to 1.2 million in total that was funneled to this individual, which is like you can't make this stuff up. SPLC was founded to fight racism, and they're funding it. I mean, right at this point, I cannot believe that people still support the Democrat Party, but they do. So getting past that SPLC story, we also had more investigations going on, and we had this clip come out from Gavin Newsom where he claims that Trump is investigating him for political reasons. So we'll play that clip so you can hear what he says.
In recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees, not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president, because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit. Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history.
Now, in the clip, he says, oh, well, Trump is targeting my former employees and my wife, and therefore he's going to target me as well. Because, and this is all political, it's not because of my mean tweets, it's because I'm considering running for president in 2028. Now, he could say that all he wants, but let's look at some actual evidence. So in November of 2025, Newsom's ex-aide was indicted on corruption and fraud charges by the federal government because she was allegedly helping in a scheme to steal campaign money from former federal health secretary Xavier Becerra, who is currently running for governor in California. She also filed fraudulent tax forms for personal expenses and made false statements to law enforcement. And Gavin Newsom's own office noted that Williamson no longer worked in the office and later revealed Williamson had been placed on leave in November of 2024 after telling the office she was under criminal investigation. So Gavin Newsom knew about this. It wasn't targeting him. In fact, she was actually hurting the Democrat Party in California. And he's still playing the Trump card on this because that's all that he does. He wants to be like Trump, and he wants to claim that he's the victim of political lawfare when that just doesn't seem to be the case. But let's assume that wasn't what he was talking about. He was just talking about the investigation into his wife. Well, we have this here from the Daily Mail revealed Gavin Newsom steered millions of dollars of donations to nonprofits connected to his wife. Well, that's certainly interesting because that seems like it's, if not illegal, definitely questionable, and could realistically have could realistically lead to fraud investigations. But we'll see. So in here, huge donations from business leaders and corporations were allegedly used to curry favor with the California governor in so-called behest payments that can avert limits on campaign contributions or gifts. Across California, over $555 million in charitable contributions were made at the request of all California lawmakers over the past 15 years, much of it under Newsom's watch. Per reported data from the Fair Political Practices Commission, the total behest payments made at Newsom's request reached over $347 million. Money funneled toward charities tied to Newsom's wife, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, reportedly included $4.3 million to her own California Partners Project. While contributions did not overstep state laws, critics argue that the payment are not a good look for the Democrat. As long as he files the required disclosure forms and there is no evidence of an explicit quid pro quo, he is entirely within the law, but many people believe that an official should not be able to make requests such as these on behalf of organizations in which their own family members are involved. This is why he's being investigated, because of this, not for political reasons. Yes, it is politically beneficial to Trump to investigate him, but there is actual reason to believe that he may have committed a crime here, because it may have been a quid pro quo. It could have been that. And there's a lot of other skepticism going on with that. There are other allegations or suspicious transactions that have occurred with Gavin Newsom that could also be warranted for this, but I don't want to touch on them. So we also had, and this is obviously another huge double standard that should be expected now from the modern left, where they only care about anything so long as it hurts Trump, and when it helps Trump or hurts their narrative, they completely ignore it. And this is the Epstein story. We had a newly released expose on the quote-unquote untold story of Epstein's death by the New York Times this past week, where they revealed that Epstein was trying to get Trump, which is not very surprising, as anybody who has actually been following the information in this case knew. They were friends previously, then Trump kicked him out of his club, and they hadn't been friends since. I mean, that was pretty clear-cut in all the evidence that we've seen, but leftists still like to portray Trump as being best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. So let's actually read what the New York Times unveiled. We went to court to win access to a document that had been described as a suicide note written by Epstein in jail before an earlier apparent attempt to take his own life, which was hidden from the public and investigators for years. We obtained about a dozen pages of other notes handwritten by Epstein in jail that were also previously unseen, including some in which he tried and failed to come up with significant information he might have on Donald Trump to offer to prosecutors. And we worked with our colleagues who specialize in open source visual investigations to analyze photographs and video footage. It goes on. But the major thing here is that he tried and failed to come up with significant information that he might have on Donald Trump. So he was trying to provide evidence against Trump of crimes, but he didn't have evidence. And even further in the article, it goes on. His attorneys discussed with federal prosecutors the prospect of a proffer, giving them information that might be useful in other cases in exchange for the possibility of some leniency in his own. Epstein was particularly preoccupied with what he might have on Donald Trump, who was then serving his first term in office. Jotting on a legal pad, he returned to the president again and again, trying to dredge up anything to offer prosecutors. But his scribblings, Trump is a total con artist, smoke and mirrors, and never had money, suggest that he could come up with little that wasn't already known. Well, so obviously we have this Epstein story, and this has been the focus of the left-wing media for months now, at the very least. Ever since Trump took office a second time, this has been their big thing. And I'll be the first to admit, the Trump administration botched the release of the Epstein files. It was done horribly. They should have been, honestly, they should have been more transparent about it. Their press was awful on it from the beginning. That's their bad. And I'm hoping that they continue to rectify it, which I mean, so far they've done, in my mind, a pretty good job of actually releasing the files. But obviously there's some questions that people still have that we would like to see answered. So if they could answer those questions, that would be great. But they're spending all their time and attention on this when this week we actually had a report come out of the UK, and this is called the Rape Gang Inquiry Report, which details that approximately 250,000 women were raped in rape gangs across the UK, ranging from, I believe that the youngest age was 11 years old. And it began in, I believe, the 1950s and is currently going. So 1948, I'm seeing that here. I'm just pulling up and skimming this quickly. I'm not going to put the whole report in here for you to see. The link will be provided in my description, as I do in all my videos, so you can actually check out my sources and prove me correct or wrong. But in this instance, this is about a 220-page report, so I'm not going to put screenshots in. But I believe it was at least the 1950s. As I said before, you can see it in here. This is that you can fact check me on that. But it's been going on for a long time, and it alleges that the UK government actually hid some of these cases because it was largely Pakistani and Muslim individuals who were participating in these rape gangs and actually targeting white women in the UK for these rape gangs. Now, there's been an almost entirely media blackout on this, at least from the left wing. And even in the UK, most of the UK officials, as far as I've seen, haven't actually responded to this report whatsoever. It's crazy because they're apparently so worried about sexual predators and these absolutely evil people. But when it comes to somebody, or literally, this is way bigger than anything that Epstein did that we currently know about. But they're silent on this. It's because it doesn't benefit them. In fact, it actually hurts their claims because they claim that Muslims are peaceful, that we need open borders because they're coming from an awful country and they need to come here into civilization and actually improve their lives. Well, it turns out that, like many conservatives are saying, you can't do that without assimilation. And in a lot of these cases, they aren't pushing for assimilation. So they're coming here and bringing the third world with them. And that's why this happens. And instead of actually prosecuting the people who do it, the officials are afraid of being called racist, Islamophobic. I mean, this is the reality of the situation. We need to prosecute criminals. I don't care what religion they are, what race they are. I don't care what they are. If you commit a crime, especially one as heinous as this, you need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That's the simple nature. Because if you don't do that, you're going to have more crime like this. And it's just absurd that people are actually still fighting for this. And like I said before, nobody on the left, no major person that I've seen has actually referenced this report. And even like the people I know in real life, they don't even talk about this. I'm like, you guys claim that you're so in favor of preventing all this from happening, but you're just ignoring this, which is a absolutely huge story. It's just absolutely insane. But speaking of the Middle East and Middle Eastern nations, we had some updates in Iran, which we'll see how it goes. So this week, Trump signed a memorandum of understanding. It's the MOU is what they're calling it. And this is basically they're calling it the peace deal, but it's not really a peace deal. It's more of a ceasefire for 60 days to work out an actual peace deal. And I've gone through it. It's a mixed bag. Now, I do want to preface this and say that I want this conflict to be over. I've been pretty clear from the beginning. I wanted to give him, I believe I said 6 to 8 weeks to try to end this, and it took longer than that. And since that 6 to 8 week time frame, I've been saying that I want us out of there. So it's good that this came out. The deal, however, from what I've seen, doesn't seem to be the best because, as you can see here from The Guardian, it was a 14-point agreement. Trump claims it's a major win for the United States, even as it made significant political and financial concessions to Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and prevent a quote-unquote worldwide depression. Now, I'm going to quickly read through it just so you guys can actually hear what was in it and my thoughts on it. So, start off with, United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war are signing this MOU to declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operation on all fronts, including in Lebanon. Undertake from now on not to initiate any war or any military operation against each other and to refrain from the threat or use of force against each other. So basically just saying that they want to end the conflict going on. That's obviously good. That's what we want. 2. United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. I mean, they're going to say that. I would say that across the world, most people have spies in other nations, and they're obviously attempting to get those nations to internally operate in a way that aligns with the home nation. But I mean, it's good to at least put that down in writing, I guess. 3. United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in maximum 60 days, extendable with mutual consent. So this is just saying we have 60 days to come up with a final agreement. Again, this is kind of the start of my problems with this, because if this is supposedly a peace deal, then why are we waiting another 60 days for a peace deal? But okay. 4. Immediately upon the signing of the MOU, the United States of America will begin the removal of its naval blockade and any disturbances or impediments against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be in proportion to the numbers of pre-war traffic being restored by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. Okay, so we're going to reopen the strait. That's basically what it says. We're going to remove our blockade. The strait is going to be open. Next, using the signing of the MOU, the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. Traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, and considering the need for removing the technical and military obstacles and demining by the Islamic Republic of Iran will be instated within 30 days. Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration of maritime services. Basically, Iran needs to clear out the mines. But what's interesting here, and this is another problem, is that it says that Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days only. So it's only this 60-day period are they required to not have a charge. So therefore, they could theoretically add a charge or a tax for people going through the strait after that 60-day period. I would like to see that not happen, but this is the agreement. And like I said, there are definitely valid criticisms of this agreement. But continuing on, 6, the United States of America undertakes the regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion USD for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The reason this is problematic, and I agree that we should actually help fund them in their reconstruction, or at least help them with their reconstruction, I should say. Historically, they have used funds that were given to them for various other reasons to develop weapons and nuclear technology. Now, I can't guarantee that that's going to happen. I can't say that it's not going to happen now. I am heavily skeptical of this, and what I would much prefer to see is $300 billion worth of labor going in and helping them restore. So we're actually making sure that the reconstruction occurs as opposed to just giving them the money. But regardless, I think that this is highly questionable. Hopefully there's some sort of mechanism to actually ensure that this is happening the way that it's supposed to be happening, but we'll see. 7, United States of America undertakes to terminate all types of sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran, including so they're going to remove sanctions on Iran. I've said this before, I'm actually not against this, so long as Iran is working with us. Now, I know it's going to be difficult to actually determine that, but if they're actually going to work as a semi-neutral partner in the world economics, and we're obviously a major player in that, then I don't have a problem with removing sanctions, because it'll actually increase oil supply across the world, lowering prices in general. So that's actually not bad, in my opinion, but it all hinges on their relationship with us going forward. Next, Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. Them saying this doesn't really mean anything. Says that the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpiled enriched material pursuant to mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon. So they're pushing this down the road, but they want to have at least some sort of supervision by the IAEA, and they're going to discuss. They're also going to discuss future enrichment and how they can actually proceed with nuclear energy without the need to, or without the ability to get a nuclear weapon. Now, this is one of the biggest sections that's been receiving heavy skepticism, just because this is kind of what the JCPOA was under Obama. Now, this seems to be slightly stronger, and to me, I hesitate to say that it's basically what the JCPOA was, because they're really just kicking the can down the road. I mean, that's really what this is. They're going to push it down the road. Next, pending the final deal, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agreed to maintain the status quo, will maintain the current status quo of its nuclear program, and the United States of America will not impose new sanctions. Yeah, okay. That's fine. Undertakes that immediately upon. U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum. So this is while sanctions are still technically in effect for Iran, we're gonna basically allow them to get around those sanctions. Which I'm like I said before, I'm all for removing the sanctions so long as they're willing to act as a neutral or more friendly nation with us. But I can't guarantee that. Nobody can guarantee that at this stage. We really need to see what goes on. Next, the United States of America undertakes to make fully available for use the frozen or restricted funds and assets of the Islamic Republic of Iran upon the implementation of this MOU. So we're going to give them all the assets that we have that have been frozen, which I don't think this is something we should be doing right now. I think that this should be contingent upon a working relationship with them, where this will be paid out in installments, where we'll slowly unfreeze or unrestrict these funds. But that's not what the agreement was. And then let's just see. I believe that's the last major one. Yeah, 12, that an executive mechanism will be established to monitor the successful implementation. And then, yeah, just basically agreements on signing it. So all in all, my general take on it is that it's good that the conflict is ending, and this is definitely a step towards a permanent end to this conflict, but it pushes all of the major problems down the road, and I am heavily concerned that this is going to just end up being another instance of a ceasefire where we're going to keep on having these quote-unquote ceasefires where there's some fighting going on and the strait's still closed, but technically we have it's just, I would just like to see this whole conflict over. Obviously gas prices have started dropping as this was made, but I can't really give you an analysis on what's going to happen until it happens. So we have at least 60 days. So hopefully it'll work itself out by then, but I can't really tell the future. So we'll report on that when it comes up. So this came out from DNI last night, as I stated, and it turns out that Dr. Fauci was using taxpayer dollars to fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab in China, which is believed to be the origins of the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, this is what people were saying back when COVID first started. And everybody said that they were conspiracy theorists for saying this, that there was no evidence of it, and that it actually came from a wet market in China. It wasn't from this lab or anything like that. It turns out that they literally just lied to you. I mean, objectively. I'm not going to play the full video, but it is going to be linked so you can watch the full clip. There's also a link in there so that way you can actually see the release. But this is huge because they've been lying to us for years, and now that it doesn't matter, they're just going to say, oh yeah, we lied to you. what are you going to do about it now? Because we can't charge them for anything. It's past the statute of limitations. It's literally moot at this point. There's nothing we could do. But this is why you need to know and actually follow this stuff in advance and charge them when you can, because we don't want this to keep on happening. We need to hold these people accountable when they commit a crime. I mean, in this case, he lied to Congress, as far as I'm aware. But realistically, we need these people arrested if we want to have any semblance of actual justice in the system. And so that's it for all the major news of the week. Now, I've been trying to do this every week, and luckily I haven't had problems finding any of these stories, but the news just every week is so sad. We live in a fallen world, obviously, and a lot of bad things happen. We see a lot of death, destruction, people just being mean to each other for no reason. So I like to take a break from that and end the week with a moment of kindness. Now, this week, as I alluded to earlier in this episode, we have the World Cup going on in North America, and one game in particular ended up going viral. And this was a game in Dallas Stadium where Japanese fans ended up cleaning up the stadium after the match. Like, literally the whole stadium. They cleaned up the locker rooms and everything. Like, they didn't ask for permission. They literally just, they got up, they brought trash bags with them, and they cleaned up the whole stadium, which was great. And so I have this from CBS. But in the silence, a simple act of cleaning up is sparking millions of views and a bigger conversation about culture, curiosity, and kindness. Through the game, probably many people see, oh, that's the culture, said Shimagochi. And that's the next step of people trying to learn, trying to know that kind of positivity remains. Kindness above all else. Because these people had absolutely no reason to clean up the World Cup stadium. Like, they could have just left like most Americans would. But they decided to stay and clean up the place, which was absolutely nice. I would love to see more of this. But it's just great to see that this is happening and Americans are actually seeing it for what it is, as an act of genuine kindness. And I'm hoping that more people see this and actually start bringing it into their own lives, helping out others, doing things that aren't necessarily easy or convenient for you, but doing them because they're going to help somebody else. And I know that a lot of people, if you listen to Matt Walsh, you'll know what I'm referencing here. But the shopping cart theory is a real thing. And people who bring back the shopping carts are the kind of people that we want in this country. So that's how I'm going to end this episode this week. I hope you have a great week. Thank you very much for watching to the end. If you could please like and subscribe as well as share this around. I don't get paid to do any of this. I do this for you guys. So thank you very much. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll catch you next week on The Ben Corriveau Show.